Went in there, did a full body, hardcore squats, deadlifts, and everything with this guy. Because I knew he was going to come watch me in this race. So I've always been about, all right, man, you're going to see me come in here and jack this weight, and tomorrow you can watch me do a 100-mile run. What do you can think about that? So basically, I paid for it. So he came out there with my favorite thing, chocolate, mini donuts, because he knew my story of my past life, and brought 6 mini donuts out there, and I had my hat pulled down, and at mile 70, man, it was torturous. And with blood down my leg and 30 miles to go, I started reaching the cookie jars, man. I started pulling off all kind of stuff. I reached in my mind, and a lot of us, when we have bad times in life, even the hardest person in the world, we forget how badass we are during that hard time. I have a thing where I take a couple seconds to reflect on, hang on, man, you've been through this, you've been through that, you overcame this, overcame that. I don't ever close my mind to the fact that this can be done. And I knew I had to get up. I needed nutrition. I needed hydration. I needed to stop being dizzy. So that's the first thing I did. I didn't panic on I had 30 more miles to go to get 100. I started about the process. Slowly but surely, I was able to stand up, and I was literally hobbling around this track, just walking, no running at all. I couldn't run. My feet were in the worst pain. This is the worst pain I've been in my entire life. Nothing in any training is even comparable to this last 30 miles. And what happened was, my ex-wife looked at me and she's like, man, we agreed I'm not gonna make the time. I was going way too slow. And at that time, at mile 81, something clicked that I'll never probably be able to do again, when my mind, body, spirit, soul, everything just connected. And my mind knew I wasn't fucking around anymore. It knew I wasn't gonna quit. It knew that guy was dead and buried and gone. And I was gonna die out here on this fucking 1 mile, for whatever reason why, I was gonna get through this motherfucker. I didn't give a damn. It made there was no fucking crowds. There was no trophy at the end. I wasn't even in a race in my mind. It was nothing. It wasn't about nothing. There was no nothing. It was a bunch of people who didn't know who the fuck I was, and it was me against me. And I used all these different dark places to start bringing out light and just fucking going deeper and deeper. Ended up running the next 20 miles. I ran 101 miles, and I ran the next 20 miles, at about 10:30 pace. And I did 101 miles in 18 hours and 56 minutes. Sat back down in that blue porta potty, now my chair that I got from Walmart. And that's when the body realized I was done. And this great feeling came over me, but also the worst pain in my life. That's when I took a humongous shit on myself. Literally like a fucking log up my fucking back. Pissed so much blood down, and my wife she was a nurse, and she was freaked out. I couldn't get up, I couldn't stand up. She backed this Camry on the knoll of the grassy area I was at, and we were both lifters at the time, so she was decently strong. I put my arms around her neck. She got me to the back seat of the car, let the windows down because I smelled like horrible shit, and I had this poncho on it because it was November in San Diego, so I'm sitting there jackhammering in the back of this car, and she was terrified. I need to get to the doctor, I need to get to the doctor. So I said, just take me home. So we lived on the second story or the second deck of this apartment complex in San Diego. I got to the first deck, so I get out of the car and I could stand up, but with my arms around her neck. So I was just leaning down because I was going to pass out. I got to the first deck, went down, just couldn't stand up anymore. Got around her neck, worked up my way up the railing, got my arms around her neck again, walked to the kitchen area, which was right in the front door. I was laying on the poncho liner. Crap was everywhere. She helped me manage to get into the tub, and it looked like dirt was coming out of my penis. This looked horrible. Just the grossest thing in the world. It's the worst pain I can ever be in my life. And the craziest thing, I'll tell you a story because it's right now. I'm not sadistic. I'm not crazy. People may think that. They may want to put a title on me after hearing me because it makes them feel better. because they think, wow, this guy must be some special or just fucked up crazy dude. No, I'm a guy that came from nothing. Anybody's capable of doing shit like this. Anybody. And I sat in that tub. She put the water on me. She called my mom up. And my mom was dating a doctor at the time. The doctor said, you need to get him to a hospital now. She came back in. All I wanted to do was call Chris Costman on the phone, the race director of Badwater, and said, I fucking did it. So she said, I'm taking you to the doctor. I said, no, let me sit here and enjoy this pain. She said, what are you talking about? I said, you know, I need to go to the doctor. I realized that. But I never thought it was humanly possible to do what I did. I went 70 miles. And at 70 miles, I was dead. I was at 100%. What I thought was 100%. I went 31 more miles after being in the worst physical shape I've ever been in my life. And all that pain and suffering and thing was going through my fucking body as I sat in that tub and the waters hit me. And it was the most amazing feeling of accomplishment, and I want to be numb. I didn't want people to give me drugs and to numb this fucking pain. I did this. And as crazy as it sounds, it was the most amazing moment of my entire life. To come from this kid who was mentally torturing himself and was tortured, it's all to this guy now, who was able to overcome such amazing odds and obstacles. And I called Chris Costman up, the race director of Badwater, and he said, the idea of a 24-hour race is to run 24 hours. You only ran 19. And he put doubt in my mind that he wouldn't let me into Badwater. So a month later or so, about a month and a half later, I went to this race called the Hurt 100. It's a 100-mile race in Hawaii, 26,000 feet of climbing.
That was all he said?
That's all he said.
That's so crazy.
He's a hardcore dude, but he didn't know how fucked up I was.
Right.
And he said, he didn't say, he didn't say, no, I'm not gonna let you in. He put enough doubt in my mind and say, man, I gotta do more. So I was broken bad. And
how long did it take you to recover physically?
The funniest thing about this, I don't tell the story very often. I had signed up for, I'm getting to that answer, it's right now. I went on deployment, and me and my wife and my mom signed up for the first Las Vegas marathon down the strip of Las Vegas. And that incident happened, so I ran 100 miles before I ran a marathon. 2 weeks later, roughly, December 5th, was this marathon that we all signed up for. I couldn't walk. I could not walk. I was fucked up. So 10 days or 2 weeks after this 100-mile in one race I did, this marathon, December 5th in Las Vegas. I said, you know what, it's the first one. I can't run. Maybe I can walk with my mom. So I tried to go out to this little knoll around our grassy area in San Diego. I tried to run. Legs were broken. I said, fuck, I can't even, I'm jacked. Can't do shit. So I said, you know what, maybe I'll watch you guys do the marathon and I'll cheer you guys on, whatever. And I said, I'll try to walk with my mom. December 5th happened. That gun went off 2005. 14 days after, I broke myself off, and I qualified for the Boston Marathon. I ran 3:08.
That's crazy.
And what's funny about it, I know people may hear say this motherfucker, even when I tell you the story, I want to drop so many names. Google it, look it up. I don't give a fuck. Like, it almost seems like I'm making my own story up. It does.
It almost seems like it to you?
It does. But like when I tell it, if I were to hear somebody, like, let's say I listen to your Joe Rogan's podcast. I heard some black dude from fucking Brazil and talking about this happened, 3 hell weeks, ranger school, ran 100 miles, broke my feet, broke my body. I'm like, this mother, he's the biggest fucking liar on the planet Earth. Ain't nobody doing that shit. See, even when I tell my story, it almost sounds like some made up shit. So yeah, 14 days later.
What's so crazy is you ran 100 miles before you ever ran a marathon.
Right.
Then you didn't run again at all, and you still qualified for the Boston Marathon. So you ran a 3:08
Right.
for the first marathon you ever did. 2 weeks after you ran 100 miles with no training and nothing in between.
But it gets better than that. You can see my training log that I actually posted up. So that's when I started training for the Hurt 100. So basically what happened was after that, I had about 4 weeks.
What did it feel like to run that 3:08 if you could barely walk?
When that gun went off, something went off in my head, and I didn't feel that much pain at all. Afterwards, I did, but something happened where I was like, the gun went off, and that thing came back. Like, all right, man, what if? Because I wanted to qualify for Boston. That was my goal, but I was jacked up, you know, and I didn't run as much as I should have at all over my Iraq training. I hit the weights, but my goal was, when I signed up for it a year early, I wanted to qualify for Boston, which was a 3:10:59, and I was like, what if you can qualify for Boston, man? You spent 100. So what helped me out? I spent 101 miles. What the fuck is 26 miles to me now? So the mindset going into it was like, I ran 75 more miles than this. So I used it to my advantage. So after that happened, I ran with my feet pretty much broken. I would go to the physical therapist, and they had this compression tape. Compression tape helped because my feet were pretty bad off. And I would run 70, 80, 100-mile weeks. And then I went to the Hurt 100, race in Hawaii, 26,000 feet of climbing over 100 miles. Probably one of the top 5 hardest 100-mile races in the world. I wasn't even a real runner. Yeah, I banked a lot of miles by in the last what, 2 months. But I wasn't a runner. Went out there and got through the race. Did it in 33 hours. Was the 9th place finisher. Not many people finished that year, and I qualified for Badwater and got in. And I went on to lose weight and train hard, and I got 5th my first year and went back my second year and got 3rd.
When you say you lost weight, like what were you eventually weighing?
So I went to the race about 190.
So you lost quite a bit from your bodybuilding time.
Right.
That's over a short period of time.
Right.
How did you lose all that weight?
Once again, I just worked out hard. I stopped taking my protein so much. I was on this stuff called Nitro Tech. And I got off all the protein stuff. And I stopped hitting the weights so hard. And I just became a running fool. Became the Black Forrest Gump, man, pretty much. Pretty simple, man. That's what happened.
Now, when you say you were using compression tape on your feet and that your feet were jacked up, what was the extent of the injuries?
So basically, because of my pronation that I never figured out because of my psoas muscles, I always had issues with stress fractures, shin splints. So I put a lot of pressure on the inside of my ankles. And so there's this tendon that goes up the backside of your, I don't know if it's your fibula, on the backside of that little bone on the backside of your foot. It goes right up beside that, right alongside that bone. And that thing was just so flared up on both sides that even this flexing my foot was just killing me. So I realized when you cast that thing up, casting my feet always helped me out because it locked my foot into a position that wouldn't make me pronate as much. So between the casting of that, and if you watch the Badwater video of 2006, you'll see me crossing the finish line with this compression tape, literally like flying on my ankles because I went to the race with compression tape on my ankles. And so basically, I'd have that on my ankles. I had inserts in my shoes, and also this wedge on the back heel of my left foot. So then it would keep me from pronating that heel so much. So I had all that on just to go run. And I ran my ass off and went to Badwater 2006 and with compression tape.